All right, welcome to this first uh, qualifying lap comparison. So I was taking telemetry, and for a long time in league racing, you look at your qualifying time, and the best thing you can do for feedback is basically your lap delta, right? That's kind of hard to know what happened. So I have this thing now. And so I'm going to try to make a video like this if people like for every race. And if you don't like, then I don't have to make videos. So that's fine. So this is, all right, so what are you staring at right here? So this is the qualifying uh, result for Suzuka that just happened. Um, and you have here PLL, Sucio and whatnot. So you have here I can choose whose racing line to show, and then I want to compare that person's time gained or lost to this driver, right? And then coming down here, I have speed, throttle, brake, gear, steer, etc. Um, Look at this guy. Look at these two laps, right? You see here, there's 126.6 and 126.6. These are like identical laps, really. And you look at their speed traps. PLL is 128 and El Sucio 129. That doesn't seem like a lot, right? It's like all right, it's one tick at the front wing, but for a track like this, it makes it that's all the difference because you make and gain times at different places. So here's what happens. So this is El Sucio's racing line. If it's colored red, that means he's losing time to PLL. If it's colored green, he's gaining time. So, and they start with a delta of 0. So you can see here, at the end of this twisty bits, El Sucio Dan's already 0.2 seconds behind, right? He's 0.2 seconds behind after the twisty bits. And then he starts gaining some time. He does very well in this. He does very well here in this hairpin, but he's still behind. He gained some, right? So he's 0.3 here and 0.2 here. So he's gained a tenth. This is why it's all green and stuff. And then they about match going into and out of Spoon. But you see this faint green, and that's El Sucio's lower wing setup working for him. And so he goes from a 2/10 deficit in the middle Spoon to a almost matching PLL's time, right? Okay, so we can actually see what it means to have a lower downforce. So this is this is arguably the one corner in the track in which downforce makes the biggest difference. And you can see here, red is PLL. He has the overspeed over over El Sucio throughout from here all the way into the corner, right? And it's quite a bit of an overspeed difference too. It's 245 to 229. And we can see that their throttle inputs too. PLL here in red can go pretty aggressive on the throttle right away, and El Sucio cannot do that. And El Sucio actually has to lift off. And that tells you that a lot of wing here for this section actually really helps. Or actually not a lot. I mean, by comparison, it's only one click. So let's see what happened here at this hairpin. How did Sucio was able to get time back? And you see here, it's all about exit speed. So if you see that the speed difference here is ever so slight, and you can see that El Sucio was able to get in the power 36, 4 meters before 4 meters before PLL. So these are like tiny margins. I mean, 4 meters not so tiny, it's a slow corner. So he was able to get in the power really early there. And that's the story of how these guys got almost identical laps. They have different philosophies to where they found time here, which I find very interesting. So let's move to somewhere like Prestige. So let's go look at Prestige this time compared to PLL. Okay, so this is red and angry everywhere, right? And that makes sense because that just means that Prestige was never able to really go any faster than PLL did throughout the entire lap. He was almost a second behind. But let's say Prestige wants to improve. So let's go and pull Rogain's lap here. There you go. That's very different, right? And so you see here how Prestige gained a bunch, but something happened right here, where he stopped gaining and he started actually losing a little bit. Then these guys are pretty well matched. They're pretty well matched throughout the entire track. You see, there's up to here, their lap delta is less than a tenth by this hairpin. Here, Prestige was able to get some of that delta back, but again, they're identical. Everything is absolutely identical between these guys, and this is where it gets interesting. He lost, so Prestige loses a bunch of time on Rogain at the corner entry, so he's a tenth behind. But here they're almost identical. Are they identical laps? Wow, I did not. Prestige, Rogain and Prestige. Okay, no, they're. Wow, yeah, they're almost identical laps. But there's this big green here. What happened there? So Prestige got a lot of time on Rogain there. So what did Prestige do that Rogain didn't do? So this is the chicane in question. And it looks here that he had the overspeed on him. How did he get his overspeed? It's not on the throttle. It's the same throttle, so it must be apex speed, right? Yeah, that's apex speed. So if you look here, what happened is, so their throttle inputs matches. So it's not. So he did not gain this time on traction. He gained this time on apex speed by rotating the car faster. So you see Rogain here, Prestige, sorry. Prestige gained time by rotating the car more. So Prestige actually went into the brakes at the exact same time that Rogain did. Rogain's in red. But he let off the brakes much earlier. And while he did that, he also attacked the corner more. So when you do this, you let the brake off earlier, and this is quite a bit earlier, right? So this is 84, 480 by like 20 meters almost, 15 meters, 15, 20 meters, and then the approach to the corner is very the same in their steering input, but it seems to me that Prestige turned, and not seems, it's right here. He attacked the corner in, which means that he rotated the car to the right into here more aggressively. And we can actually double check that that's the case. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So he gained it by that steering input. So I'm gonna make this one short. So that's it. If you want to see more laps, last laps, you want to see more different laps, more laps alike back at the field, let me know. And that's it. So have a good night.